So in most of the invertebrates, you all know that the
Network
organ
issue,
system
ma'am.
is
No
not
sound
well
available.
developed. Yes. Okay. The organ system is not well developed. So right from the lower organisms to the higher organisms, if we compare, especially in case of invertebrates, so there is diversity. Okay. In the
Network issue, ma'am.
organ
No
system,
sound available.
in the tissue grade system. So that we are going to deal with. So diversity of the organ system of invertebrates, you have it in with reference to circulatory system, excretory system, as well as a nervous system. Now we will start with the circulatory system. Diversity is nothing but the variation. Now coming to the overview of the circulatory system, you all know actually the circulatory system varies from simple organ systems in invertebrates to the more complex systems in the vertebrates. You all know actually the vertebrates there, they have the organ grade of what do you say, things. So that is why they have well developed organs. So every system is well developed and every metabolic activity is being performed with great success. But with reference to the invertebrates, since the organs are not well developed, right from the circulatory system, you may take into consideration excretory system or respiratory system, whatever type of system you take, they are very, very simple. So based on that, now today we are going to discuss. So it is very, very simple when compared to that of the vertebrates. In vertebrates, it is highly complex. Now, say for example, the simplest animals, such as
No sound
sponges. Now,
available, ma'am.
yes,
Sound is not audible, ma'am.
sound is not audible. Okay, 1 second. You're not able to hear anything? Hello?
Clear,
Audible,
ma'am.
madam.
Audible, ma'am.
Hello?
Audible, madam. Yeah, clear, madam.
Voice clear, ma'am.
Then why he's saying? Because I have... okay. So here, so it is very, very simple. So before we go to the poriferans, that is the sponges and all those things, you all know actually the first phylum that we have studied is nothing but phylum Protozoa. So in that Protozoa, you have different, what do you say, animals, like you have amoeba, all those things. So in that case, actually, they are very single cell organisms. So there the systems are not well developed. So whatever the process that they undergo, that is a metabolic activity that undergo, it takes place through the process of diffusion, that is through the general body surface. So likewise, if you come to sponges, then again it is little bit what do you say, highly organized. So likewise, as you move from the lowest phyla to the highest phyla, there is actually gradation in the organ systems. So when you talk about the any system with reference to circulatory or excretory or respiratory, whatever it is, okay, it is actually simple. So it ranges from the simplest organ systems to the more complex systems that you find it in the vertebrates. Now here they say the simplest animals such as the sponges. Sponges are nothing but the poriferans as well as the rotifers. They actually do not need any circulatory system. Why? Because the process actually will take place through diffusion. So here what they're saying is why they don't need a circulatory system, because diffusion allows them to take adequate exchange of water, nutrients, as well as the waste and also the dissolved gases. That means through their general body surface, they're getting what? They are getting, they're exchanging the water, they're exchanging the nutrients, they're exchanging the waste as well as also the dissolved gases, okay, between the, what do you say, the cell as well as between the exterior environment. So through the process of diffusion, it is, the activity is becoming very easy for them. And through that process of diffusion, they are actually trying to take in or exchange the water, nutrients, waste, as well as the dissolved gases. So the organisms that are more complex but still only have 2 layers of cells in their body plan, such as jellies like Cnidaria, that is coelentrates, as well as the comb jellies, that is intenophores. They also use a diffusion through the epidermis and internally through the gastrovascular compartment. But both their internal as well as external tissues are what do you say, bathed in an aqueous environment and exchange the fluids by diffusion on both the sides. Okay, so exchange of the fluids is assisted by the pulsing of the jellyfish body. So here a little bit, when compared to the poriferans and when compared to that of the protozoans, it is a little bit complicated. Why? Because here they consist of 2 layers of the cells, whereas in case of the poriferans and in case of the protozoans, we don't find the cells. Okay, they are only single cell organisms. So their there is no question of what do you say, taking in what you said, the internal environment as well as external environment getting bathed in an aqueous environment. So here, by simple diffusion method, through the exchange of water will take place, exchange of gases will take place, exchange of nutrients will take place, as well as even the dissolved gases also will take place. So there the process is very, very simple. But in some, what do you say, the organisms they are saying, like coelentrates, example jellyfish, like comb jellies, like ctenophorans, they also use diffusion through their epidermis, but internally they also have a gastrovascular compartment. Whereas in case of these lower organisms, we don't find gastrovascular compartment. So what they want to tell is here, both the internal as well as external tissues, they get completely bathed in an aqueous environment, and they exchange the fluids by the diffusion on both the sides. But in case of the lower organisms, it takes place only through one side, that is through the external, not through the internal. So that is only the difference. So exchange of fluids is assisted by the pulsing of the jellyfish body. Okay. So see here, this is a sponge, because it is a two-celled organism. It has got two layers, and here this is a jellyfish. So here they have given. Okay. Now coming to the for more complex organisms, that is in invertebrates only. Now diffusion is not efficient for the cycling of gases, nutrients, as well as the waste effectively through the body. So therefore, more complex circulatory system is present actually. So what happened is, now when we have talked about the lower organisms, that is with reference to the protozoans, with reference to the what do you say, the coelentrates and all those things. In poriferans as well as in the protozoans, it occurs to the process of diffusion. Even in the but in case of the coelentrates, what we are talking about there, they consist of two types of cells. That is, it is not single cell body, but they are two different types of cells. So that is why both the external as well as the internal, the diffusion will take place. But in case of still higher organisms, that is in invertebrates itself, diffusion is not enough. So for the cycling of water, that means exchange of water, exchange of nutrients, and exchange of gases, the diffusion process is not sufficient enough, or it is not efficient for the cycling. So therefore, in such organisms, more complex circulatory systems have been evolved. So what are these? We'll see now. Now, for example, most arthropods and many molluscans, they have got open circulatory system. Arthropods as well as the molluscans, they have got open circulatory system. So in an open circulatory system, what happens is an elongated beating heart will be present, and this elongated beating heart will push what? Will push the hemolymph. Here the blood is called actually the hemolymph, because here you don't find the RBCs, that is the red blood cells. In the red blood cells, you don't have a hemoglobin pigment. So that is the reason why here the blood is not red in color, because of the lack of hemoglobin. So here the blood in these organisms, especially in the arthropods as well as in the mollusks, you call it as a hemolymph. So here it is not red in color. Why? Because hemoglobin is absent. So here what they are saying is, in an open type of circulatory system, you have a elongated heart. Now the beating of this elongated heart, it will push the hemolymph through the body, and the muscle contractions also will help to move the fluids. So the larger, more complex crustaceans, including the lobsters, have developed the arterial-like vessels. Okay, now here I'll stop here. I'll come to here saying that here, that means in the complex organisms, diffusion is not sufficient. Means the exchange of gases, the exchange of water, the exchange of the nutrients, okay, will not take place properly. It is not effective. Okay, that means it is not efficient in that efficient in the sense they are not able to actually exchange the water, exchange the nutrients to the fullest extent, just by using the diffusion mechanism. So therefore, in such organisms, complex circulatory systems have been evolved. For example, in arthropods and the mollusks, you have got the open circulatory systems have been evolved. So in the open circulatory system, what is there? You have a heart, that is a pulsating heart, and it is elongated. And here, the beating of this heart will push the hemolymph through the body, and the muscle contractions also will help to move the fluid from the body to the exterior, or from the exterior to the interior. So likewise, the circulatory system will work. But in case of still complex organisms, that is a larger, more complex organisms such as crustaceans, like lobsters, they have developed what? Arterial-like vessels. Arterial-like vessels means they have some what arteries. They have got somewhat vessels which resemble the arteries. to push the blood, okay, through their bodies, and the most active mollusks, such as squids, they have evolved a closed circulatory system and are able to move rapidly to catch the prey. So are you able to understand? Are you able to follow, students? Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
ma'am.
Is it okay? See,
Clear,
here we are
ma'am.
talking
Clear.
the okay. We are talking the diversity of the circulatory system, okay, in invertebrates. Now we have seen in the lower organisms that if you take into consideration the protozoa and if you take into consideration the coelorates, now they are all single-celled organisms. So therefore, the process of diffusion, okay, will help in the exchange of the materials, water, as well as the gases. Through the general body surface, it will take place. So it is very, very simple. But then next is what? If you talk about the coelorates, that is cnidarians and all those things. Now, cnidarians, when we talk about cnidarians, they are saying actually they have got two cells are present, two layer of cells are there. So in that case, what is happening? The exchange of gases need to take both exterior as well as to the interior. So there is somewhat a cavity is present between the two layers of the cells. So that is why before exchange of any water or the mineral or the nutrients, whatever it may be, it has to get completely bathed in the the compartment that is present, okay, between the exterior to that of the interior. So that is what they say. But still complex organisms. So what they're saying is the diffusion is not efficient. That means with the help of diffusion, they are not able to take in or exchange the water, the nutrients as well as the gases to their fullest extent. So that is why here more complex circulatory systems have been developed. For example, the mollusk and arthropods, they have got open circulatory system. So what do you mean by open circulatory system? In an open circulatory system, they have got an heart, but they don't have the blood vessels. So in an open system, an elongated heart will be there. So the beating of this heart will push the hemolymph. Hemolymph is what here? Nothing but it is a blood only, but it is not having what? The red blood cells, that is the hemoglobin. So that is why it is not red in color. So the blood, especially in the mollusk and the arthropods, we call it as nothing but the hemolymph. Because of the lack of the red pigment, that is the hemoglobin, it is white in color. So that is why we call it as a hemolymph. So in an open system, the beating of the heart will push the hemolymph through the body, and also the muscle contractions will help them to push or to move the fluids. Okay. Then still more larger, the organisms like crustaceans, examples like lobsters, they have developed what? Artery-like vessels are there in them. Artery-like vessels, they are not exactly arteries, but they are somewhat artery-like vessels. So these will help or push the blood through their bodies. Now, the next is what? The most active mollusks, such as squids, they have evolved what? They have evolved a closed circulatory system. And they are at this, with the help of this closed circulatory system, they are able to move rapidly to catch the prey. Not only to catch the prey, but all other activities also they are able to perform very, very actively. So this is how the circulatory system actually have evolved in case of invertebrates. So we can say that in invertebrates, we could find two types of circulatory system. One is called as the open circulatory system, and the other one is called as a closed circulatory system. So in almost all the lower phyla, okay, you find open. But when you are coming to the higher, the phyla, nearer to the vertebrates and all those things, like you have crustaceans, that is arthropods, then you have the mollusk and all those things. You have what? Closed circulatory system. Now we'll see what is closed circulatory system and what is open circulatory system. Now see here, the closed circulatory system. Now closed circulatory system is what? Nothing but they are having the blood vessels. The blood will not flow openly in the body cavities. So they have what? They have got the arteries as well as the veins. Whereas in open, you don't find the arteries and veins. Heart is there, no doubt, but you don't find the arteries and the veins, because in arteries and veins only the blood will flow. So that is the only difference. Now we see. So this is actually, see, this is the main heart is present, and you have the dorsal blood vessel. This is the heart here. Okay, and you have ventral blood vessels like this. So you have got blood vessels are there. Okay, and this is your open circulatory system. Now, see, open circulatory system is what? Since they are not having the arteries as well as the veins, okay, they are the blood actually will be flowing. So this is the body cavity. These are the ostia, openings in the heart. So the blood will flow through this. Okay, so this is about the open circulatory system. Now we'll see what is open circulatory system. Now open circulatory systems are the systems where the blood rather than being sealed, tied in the arteries and the veins. They actually suffuses the body, means they travel through the body and may be directly open to the environment. So they have direct access to the environment at the places such as the digestive tract, Okay, so we can say that in an open circulatory system, okay, the blood actually will flow directly. So it has got access. Okay, it can open directly to the environment at certain places. Okay, such as a digestive tract and all those things. So it has got a direct, relationship with that of the environment, because the blood that is present in such organisms are not actually tightly packed in the blood vessels, because blood vessels are lacking in an open type of circulatory system. Now, open circulatory systems actually uses the hemolymph instead of the blood. Now, this hemolymph performs the functions of the blood, lymph, as well as the interstitial fluid. Okay, so what we can say is, just now I have to talk about, to you about the hemolymph. No, hemolymph actually open circulatory system usually. So the organisms which possess the open circulatory system, they don't have what blood. Instead, they have what in hemolymph. So this hemolymph has all the characteristic features, and it will function like the blood, it will function like the lymph, and it also functions like an intestinal fluid. So, but these three are different, no doubt, but they are highly specialized fluids in animals with closed circulatory systems. But when you talk about this blood, when you talk about this lymph, and when you talk about this intestinal fluid, these are three different things that you find it in a higher organism, especially with reference to the closed circulatory system. But in an open circulatory system, all these three are the same. So that means these three functions, the functions of these three, we can say, is being performed by the hemolymph, because the open circulatory system actually possesses the hemolymph, or you can say the organisms which possess open circulatory system, they consist of what? Hemolymph instead of the blood, and this hemolymph only perform the functions of the blood, lymph, as well as the intestinal fluid. Okay. Now, instead of a complex and closed system of veins and arteries, the organisms with the open circulatory system, they have a cavity which we call it as a hemocoel. Okay. So what do they have? They have a cavity which we call it as a hemocoel. So this is actually a central body cavity which is formed inside most of the invertebrates. So where both the digestive functions as well as the circulatory functions are being performed. So this hemocoel may have arteries through which the blood can reach the tissues, but these arteries are not closed and they do not circulate the blood as quickly as closed muscle-assisted arteries. So within the hemocoel, hemophil will directly absorb the nutrients from the food and the oxygen from the lungs or breathing pores. So it also contains what? The immune cells, but hemolymph does not bear the red blood cells like the the closed type of circulatory system. So instead of using the hemoglobin to carry the oxygen, the organisms with the open circulatory system actually use blue or yellow-green pigments to carry the oxygen throughout the body. So this is about the open circulatory system. Are you following, girls, students? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. It is clear, ma'am.
Okay. So in open circulatory system, what is open circulatory system? They have blood. They have a heart, but they don't have a blood. Instead of the blood, what do they have? They have a hemolymph. And this hemolymph, what does it consist of? It consists of, it functions as the blood, lymph, as well as the intestinal fluid. It does not have the RBCs, which possess the hemoglobin. So that is why the hemolymph actually is white in color, you can say. It is not red in color, but it performs all the functions of the blood, lymph, as well as the intestinal fluid. Okay, and this hemolymph opens into a cavity, okay, which is called as nothing but a hemocoel. So we can say the open circulatory systems, or you can say the organisms which possess open circulatory systems, okay, possess what? A hemocoel. Hemocoel is what? It is nothing but a central body, body cavity in which these animals or these organisms, digestive system as well as the circulatory system functions will be performed. And here they are saying that these circulatory functions, they are being performed. So directly, it has got direct access to the environment. So the animals, I'm saying that this circulatory system Okay. Now, the circulatory system in some of the animals also may possess the arteries. But these arteries, are not closed. So they are somewhat open. So, and the blood also can reach. So through these arteries, they can make use of these arteries, and through these arteries, the blood can reach the tissues. But these arteries actually are not closed. They are not closed, and they circulate the blood as quickly as closed muscle-assisted arteries. Okay. And within the hemocoel, actually what happens, the hemolymph will be present now. So this hemolymph, what it will try to do, it will try to absorb the nutrients from the food, and also take in the oxygen from the lungs or the breathing portions. Okay, so that is how actually the open circulatory system will work. And as already I have told you, hemolymph does not have the red blood cells. So instead, to carry the oxygen from the the breathe in, these organisms, what do? Is they use the blue or the yellow-green pigments to carry the oxygen throughout the body. So that is how the open circulatory system in case of the invertebrates work. Okay. Now, what are the functions of the open circulatory system? Now, when you talk about the functions of an open circulatory system, we already have seen now. So in all the animals, the circulatory systems perform several vital functions. Okay, so the circulatory system can be what? It can be thought of as a river connecting the specialized cells of the body. So what are the various functions? Now, it transports the oxygen that is required for cellular respiration, transport the nutrients from the food, which are necessary for cellular respiration as well as for other functions of the body. It transports the waste products of cellular respiration. It transports the necessary messages between the cells, and it also transports the immune cells which can fight the infection. So these are the functions of the open circulatory system. So in almost all the animals which possess the open circulatory system, okay, what is their major role? In transporting the oxygen required for cellular respiration, in transporting what? The nutrients from the food, in transporting the waste products, transporting the necessary messages between the cells, and also transporting the immune cells which are required to fight against the infections. So this is about the open circulatory system that we see in case of the lower organisms, especially the lower phyla, and what is their role. Okay. Now, coming to the closed circulatory system. Now, the closed circulatory system actually we see in the vertebrates mainly and the higher organisms. Now, in the closed circulatory system, the blood stays within the blood vessels. That is the difference. Okay. So, in case of open circulatory system, first of all, you don't find blood vessels. So, there is no question of actually the blood being in the blood vessels. So, that is the reason why the blood actually flows directly. Okay, within the cavity, that is within the hemocoel, which is present in case of the lower organisms. But in case of the closed circulatory system, the blood will stay within the blood vessels. So in this way, the blood is kept separate from the body tissues. So it doesn't have a direct access. Whereas in case of the open circulatory system, directly the blood, that is hemolymph, will directly flow or it will reach the body tissues. Okay, but in case of the closed circulatory system, it cannot reach directly. Okay, so it has to pass through the arteries as well as the veins. So that is the reason why in this case, the blood is always kept separate from the body tissues. And this system also has a heart that pumps the blood through the continuous circulation pattern. So as such, what happens is the blood will tend to be pumped at a higher pressure. And in closed circulatory system, the heart pumps the blood through the vessels that are separate from the interstitial fluid of the body. So most of the vertebrates as well as few invertebrates like this, like annelids, earthworms, they have got a closed circulatory system. Okay, so we can say now the difference you all know between the open circulatory system as well as the closed circulatory system. Not all invertebrates possess open circulatory system. So there are certain organisms like from annelids and arthropods where you find the arteries like structures. Now there they have the closed circulatory system. So in the closed circulatory system, you have what? The blood vessels. Whereas in open circulatory system, blood vessels are lacking. So that is why here you don't have a direct access. In the open circulatory system, the blood directly flows, okay, to the body tissues. So it has a direct access to the environment and it flows directly into the body cavity, that is nothing but the hemocoel. Whereas in case of this, since you have the blood vessels, the blood will flow through these blood vessels And this system also has a heart which pumps the blood through the circulatory pattern. And as the blood tends to be pumped at higher pressure, so when once the heart pumps the blood through these vessels, then the the circulatory system will function. Now, the closed type of circulatory system, you find it in some of the invertebrates like annelids, earthworms as well as the vertebrates. Okay, so this is how the closed. So this is the heart and this is the blood, that is the blood vessel. This is the interstitial fluid. So the small branch vessels in each organ. So dorsal vessel, auxiliary hearts, and all those things. So ventral vessels. So you have got the blood vessels. So we can say the major difference between these two is open circulatory system, lack of blood vessels. Then in closed circulatory system, you have presence of blood vessels. And here the blood is white in color because of the lack of hemoglobin. Okay, and here you have, in case of the closed circulatory system, you have the blood is red in color because of the presence of hemoglobin. Now we'll see what are the various functions of the closed circulatory system. Now, a closed circulatory system, you all know, it consists of the heart, and this heart will pump the blood into the vessels to reach the tissues as well as the various organs. The exchange of gases in the bloodstream occurs between the small blood vessels, that is the capillaries as well as the tissues. Since the blood circulates only inside the blood vessel, it can do it with more pressure, reaching farther distances, means more distances can cross between the organs where the homeostatic balance will be maintained, and the balance will be maintained between the peripheral tissues. Now, the earthworm's blood vessels run throughout their segments, carrying vital oxygen and the nutrients to all their organs. So these are the functions. So the functions of the closed circulatory system, we can say, is nothing but the heart, okay, is there since the heart pumps the blood into the vessels, and the exchange of gases into these, the blood vessels will take at a faster rate, okay, because it moves with a great speed with more pressure, reaching more distances, so between the organs. So therefore, what happens is homeostasis will occur between the peripheral tissues. And coming to the earthworms blood vessels, what they're saying is it will run throughout the segments, because you all know actually earthworm is a segmented body. So each segment, starting from the mouth till the last segment, the earthworms actually blood vessels need to run, okay, and carrying the vital oxygen and the nutrients to all the organs. So that is how the circulatory system in case of the earthworms work. In case of the vertebrates, you all know, since it is closed, you have got a well-developed heart, you have got well-developed arteries, veins, as well as the capillaries. So the exchange of gases will take place very easily and within in a balanced manner, we can say. Okay, so this is the function of the closed circulatory system. So this is, they have talked about with reference to the the earthworm. Okay, so here the blood vessels, see here, since it is a segmented body, the blood vessels actually will pass from the first segment to the last segment, so carrying the nutrients as well as the oxygen. Here, see, open circulatory system, difference between the open circulatory system as well as here the closed circulatory system. Now, here in case of the open circulatory system, very few organisms will have the artery-like structure, they said, no? Okay, so this is ostia, right? This is the body cells. So the open circulatory system is common, okay, to the mollusk and the arthropods. And open circulatory systems pump the blood into a hemocoel, okay, with the blood diffusing back to the circulatory system between the cells. So exchange of gases will take place between the cells. Now here in case of this, vertebrates and only a few invertebrates actually possess this closed circulatory system. And in this, the blood is pumped by a heart through the blood vessels, and it does not normally fill the body cavities. So this is the difference between the open as well as the closed. Now, this is about the circulatory system. Now, if you have any queries regarding the circulatory system, you can ask students. Then we will go to the next one. So, do you have any doubt? Yes?
No doubt, ma'am.
Is it okay? See, in your syllabus, they have given what the diversity of organ systems with reference to circulatory system, excretory system, nervous system in different invertebrates. So you have to comparing all those things, you have to talk about. So we have seen from the lower organisms to the vertebrates, what type of circulatory system you find, and how actually the circulatory system will function. So in the lower organisms, we can say, if you talk about the protozoans as well as coelentrates, it occurs through the simple diffusion through the general body surface. Then still complex, then you can talk about with reference to the coelentrates, how it takes place, since they have 2 layers of the cells. Okay, so the exchange of gases need to take place both externally as well as internally. Then likewise, still complex organisms. So you have to talk about with reference to both open type of circulatory system as well as the closed type of circulatory system. What is open type of circulatory system and closed type, and what is the difference, and how actually the the open circulatory system works, and how the closed circulatory system will work. So that is how you have to talk about the diversity of the organ system with reference to the circulatory system in the invertebrates. Okay. Yes, any doubt? Then shall we go to excretory system? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. See, anyhow, you don't have the respiratory system. I'll just... Now we'll see overview of excretory system. Now, what is the main role of the excretory system? Nothing but to remove the waste. Okay. Now, when you talk about the invertebrates excretory system, now again, same way, lower organisms, if you take all types of functions, that is whether it is excretion or digestion, okay, or osmoregulation, or you can take circulation, it occurs through the general body surface with the simplest process of diffusion. But as you go up, then you have different organisms. Now they have, when they have got the cells, so the excretory system actually, the diffusion, the mechanism of the excretory system with the help of the diffusion is not sufficient, as we have seen with reference to the circulatory system. So what happened? Likewise, as we go to the higher phyla, they developed the different types of the excretory organs. So what are those excretory organs actually that have been developed? Now, with reference to the invertebrates. Now, they say that actually not only the excretion can take place through the general body surface with help by simple process of diffusion in case of lower organisms. But when you come to the higher organisms, the simple process of diffusion is not sufficient enough, or it is not that much effective to perform the whole excretory process. So that is the reason why actually the excretory organs have been evolved in such animals. So what are those excretory organs that have been evolved in the invertebrates we see? So they are nothing but the nephridia as well as the malpighian tubules. Okay. So what are the excretory organs? The excretory organs are the nephridia as well as the malpighian tubules. Do you find the nephridia as well as the malpighian tubules in the protozoans as well as in the the coelentrates? You don't find. So they are single cell organisms. So that is why what is happening through the process of just diffusion through the general body surface only, like digestion, circulation and all those things, even the excretion will take place. But in case of the other organisms, like you have the annellates, then you have, when you come to annelida, arthropoda, all the other, the higher organisms, there they have evolved certain excretory organs. So these excretory organs are nephridia as well as the malpighian tubules. Now the nephridia are of 2 types. One is called as a protonephridia and the other one is a metanephridia. We'll see now what are protonephridia and what are metanephridia. Apart from the nephridia, you also have the malpighian tubules. So these malpighian tubules, so the excretory system, or you can say the excretory function, is being performed by these organs, excretory organs. What are those? One is called as a nephridia and the other one is called as a malpighian tubules. Now see here, this is actually, it has started from the coelentrates, like you have the excretory canal and all those in case of planaria. So this, they have given the example for planaria. Okay, then nephridia, you have, see, this is the flame cells are present. So through the excretory pore. Now we'll see. So actually from the flatworms, that is the nemathelminthes, we can say, as well as the platyhelminthes. Okay, the nephridia have are present. So what are protonephridia? Protonephridia actually are found in the freshwater flatworms. So they are a network of blind-ended tubes opening only to the exterior. So they are blind-ended tubes opening only to the exterior, or you can say that they are a network of tubules or tubes which open only to the exterior, and they branch throughout the body, ending in the flame cells, or you can say ending in the flame bulb. So the tuft of cilia that beat, forcing the fluids through these tubes. So these actually nephridia, they bear what? They also have the cilia. So the beating of the cilia actually will force the fluid that have been taken by this nephridia. So in that case, what happens? It will be very, very easy for the the process of excretion. So that is how the excretion phenomena will take place. Now, so what do you mean by protonephridia? Protonephridia basically are found in the flatworms. Okay, you can give the best example as fasciola hepatica. You can give the examples as planaria and all those things. Okay, so they are what? They are a network of nothing but blind-ended tubes. Means they are actually the end blindly open only to the exterior, and they branch throughout the body, ending in the flame bulbs or ending in the flame cells. And they bear a tuft of cilia. A number of cilia are present, and the beating of these cilia will force the fluids through the tubes. And the urine will be emptying away nephridio pore. And towards the exterior, they actually possess a pore. That pore we call it as nothing but a nephridio pore. Or we can say nephridia bear a pore through which the waste are excreted out. That pore you call it as nothing but a nephridio pore. Okay, so this is about the nephridio. Then what are metanephridia? Now, most of the annelids actually they possess metanephridia. Now, metanephridia are present in the annelids, whereas the protonephridia actually they are the first formed the nephridia you can say, or the first seen nephridia which are found in case of the flatworms. When you talk about the metanephridia, they are mostly found in the annelids. That is in the earthworms. Each segment actually contains a pair of metanephridia, and they are metanephridia are again nothing but just now we have seen they are similar to that of the protonephridia. They are the tubules, and they are all these tubules actually are buried in the coelomic fluid, and they are encircled by the capillaries. Encircled by the capillaries. Now, here, these metanephridia, they consist of the nephrostome. So, these nephrostome actually collects the fluid from the coelom. Okay, in the first and the first filtrate, you call it as nothing but the osmotic. They transport the epithelia in the lumen of the tubules, absorb and secrete the molecules, and the urine will exist through the nephridio pore, like we have seen in case of these protonephridia. Here also they possess a pore which we call it as nothing but a nephridio pore. So metanephridia you find it in the annelids, and here in case of the annelid, since it is a segmented body, each segment contains a pair of metanephridia, and these metanephridia are also nothing but they are the tubules. Okay, and these tubules actually are completely buried in the coelomic fluid, and they are encircled by means of capillaries. And here they bear the nephrostome, and these nephrostome actually what do? They collect the fluid from the coelom, and they next is what do? Is they transport the epithelia in the lumen of the tubules, and they try to resorb and also secrete the molecules. And the urine that is will be excreted out through the nephridio. So this is with reference to metanephridia. See here they are given the example of annelid, where you have this is the nephrostome. These are the collecting tubules. This is the nephrodiopore. Okay, through this nephridio pore, through this nephridio pore only it will be ejected out the waste, that is especially the urine. So they possess a coelomic cavity. These are the blood capillaries. So this is the metanephridia. Okay. Now next excretory organ that you observe is nothing but Malpighian tubules. Now Malpighian tubules. So in case of the excretory system, we have seen what are nephridia. Two types of nephridia we observed. One is called as the protonephridia, and the other one is called as the metanephridia. Now protonephridia, you find it in the flatworms, that is the platyhelminths, whereas the metanephridia we have observed in case of the annelids. Now apart from these nephridia, these invertebrates also possess malpighian tubules. Now, most of the insects, especially actually, and other arthropods, terrestrial arthropods, especially actually malpighian tubules, you find it in majority of number in case of the arthropods. So in insects as well as in other terrestrial arthropods, you find these malpighian tubules. These malpighian tubules actually they remove the waste from the hemolymph and also they help in osmoregulation. They open in the digestive tract, and they get immersed in the hemolymph, and they transport the epithelial line tubules, and also they transport the solutes, okay, the solutes which are secreted into the tubules, and they also reabsorbed by the rectum, and they also cause the precipitation of the uric acid. So this is how actually the malpighian tubules help in the process of excretion in case of the arthropods. Mostly insects as well as some of the terrestrial arthropods, they bear this malpighian tubules. So malpighian tubules also, like the nephridia, malpighian tubules also help in the process of excretion. And these malpighian tubules are highly evolved in case of the insects as well as in the arthropods. So what is their role? Same like nephridia, they also remove the waste from the hemolymph. They also help in the osmoregulation process. They open in the digestive tract, okay, and get immersed in the hemolymph. They transport the epithelial line tubules. So when they transport these epithelial line tubules, the solutes that are being present there, what do? They are secreted into the tubules, and these secretions actually are reabsorbed by the rectum, and they also help in the precipitation of the uric acid. So this is about the malpighian tubules. Now the other thing is the malpighian tubules. What do? They empty in the alimentary canal between the midgut and the hindgut, and the number of malpighian tubules they vary from about 4 to 200 depending upon the species. So the malpighian tubules, a number of malpighian tubules are present depending upon the species. You may have 4 or 5 or depending, it varies from 4 to 200, and they are 2 to 100 the mm in length, and 30 to 100 micrometer in diameter. And the walls of these malpighian tubules, they consist of a single layer of epithelial cells. And also, what do? Is they process the ECF, that is extracellular fluid, at high rates to regulate the composition and also the volume of ECF. That means in one way we can say that they help in osmoregulation. Okay, and they are not innervated, and the fluid secretion is controlled by the action of the hormones. So this is about the malpighian tubules. Now see this here where the malpighian tubules are present. So there are number of malpighian tubules are present. Okay, varying depending upon the species. So mostly they are present in the insects as well as the terrestrial arthropods. Now this is about the malpighian tubules. Now we'll see what are the roles. Already we have seen now. So malpighian tubules are what? They are nothing but one of the excretory organ which is seen actually in case of the insects and other terrestrial arthropods. Like the nephridia, it also removes the waste from the hemolymph, also help in osmoregulation. Now here they open in the digestive tract, they transport the epithelial line tubules, okay, and here they whatever the solutes that are being secreted into the tubules are getting reabsorbed. They help in the reabsorption by the rectum, and they also cause a precipitation of uric acid. Then these malpighian tubules, okay, empty into the alimentary canal between the midgut as well as the hindgut, and the number of malpighian tubules varies from species to species, varying from 4 to 200, and the length and diameter also varies from 2 to 100 in length and 30 to 100 in diameter. And the wall of this malpighian tubules, they consist of an epithelial cell, and they process the ECF at high rates to regulate composition and the volume of ECF. That means in the ECF is nothing but the extracellular fluid, and means external environment. Whatever the fluid that is present externally, you call it as extracellular fluid, and the fluid that is present inside, you call it as nothing but the interstitial fluid, you can say, or the the cellular fluid. So they help in maintaining the balance, or they help in maintaining the osmoregulation. So how they do it with semen. Okay, so the MITs actually are not innervated, and so that is why the fluid secretion actually is being controlled by the action of the hormones. So because in arthropods we find the hormones, no. Okay, so that is how they do it. Now osmoregulation in insects, you all know. So the malpighian tubules not only help in the process of excretion in the insects, but also they play an important role in case of osmoregulation. So what is osmoregulation? Nothing but regulation of the or regulating the osmotic balance, okay, between the internal environment to that of the external environment. So osmotic regulation means with reference to the water, with reference to ions, with reference to various nutrients. So there should always be a balance, okay, between the exchange of these water, between the exchange of the nutrients, between the exchange of the minerals, with the internal environment to that of the external environment. Then only the balance will take place. That is homeostasis, what we call it as. Okay. So in case of these insects, this maintaining of the homeostatic balance, that is especially with reference to osmotic balance, you can say, or osmoregulation mechanism is being performed by the malpighian tubules. So the main organs that are involved in solute and the water balance in case of insects are malpighian tubules. Okay, and lower malpighian tubules as well as the hind. Now, malpighian tubules actually are they form the primary urine, whereas the lower malpighian tubules as well as the hindgut. Hindgut means ileum, colon, as well as the rectum. They help in the reabsorption of the water as well as the ions. So that is how the process of osmoregulation will take place in insect. This is extra information. If you want, you can write the students. Otherwise, you can neglect about the osmoregulation. You can just concentrate on the malpighian tubules, which actually basically help in the excretion phenomena. Okay. So just now we have seen. So the empty alimentary can all be. So we can say that apart from the excretory phenomena, the malpighian tubules also help in the process of excretion, osmoregulation. Okay. Now here, where are they present actually? Now you all know malpighian tubules actually lie free in the hemocoel and they are not supplied with the blood vessels. The insect circulatory system, you all know, is relatively at a low pressure. So therefore, urine is formed entirely by the secretion only. And the sodium chloride and the potassium chloride actually are transported from the hemolymph into the lumen of the malpighian tubules. And these malpighian tubules will secrete the potassium in the herbivorous insect and sodium in the blood feeders. Sodium as well as the potassium chloride are returned to the hemolymph across the rectal wall. So that is how the the process of excretion will take place. So we can say that malpighian tubules actually are they do not possess the the blood vessels. They lie free in the hemocoel. And here, since the insect circulatory system is very low, therefore the urine is formed only by the secretion. So, and also the sodium chloride as well as potassium chloride are transported from the hemolymph into the lumen of this malpighian tubules. So therefore, the malpighian tubules can easily secrete this potassium in the herbivorous insects as well as sodium in the blood feeders. And both the sodium chloride as well as potassium chloride, they are again returned to the hemolymph across the rectal wall. So that is a function of the malpighian. So here, colon, rectum, we have ileum, and this is the midgut, and this is a malpighian tubule. Okay. So this is about. Now we will go through another. We will discuss about. So now here till now we have seen what the excretory system. What are the various types of excretory organs that actually are found in the invertebrates? So basically, how many types of excretory organs we have seen apart from the, the normal diffusion mechanism? You all know actually, in case of the protozoans and in case of the coelentrates, they are single-celled organisms. They don't have the complex organ systems. They are very simple. So any process if you take, whether it is digestion, circulation, respiration, excretion, whatever it is, it occurs through the process of diffusion. Whereas if you go high in the higher organisms, since they are little bit complicated, so they have evolved what is specialized. The organs have been developed specially for the purpose of the circulation, or especially for the purpose of respiration, or you can say excretion. So when we're dealing with the excretory system here, now here in case of the annelids, you find not only the annelids, but also the platyhelminths, they have developed what they have evolved the special organs for excretion. So what are those? Those are nothing but the nephridia. So these nephridia, we found it of two types. One is called as the protonephridia, and the other one we call it as the beta nephridia. Apart from these nephridia, you also have what the malpighian tubules. The malpighian tubules are mostly present in the insects as well as in the terrestrial arthropods. Now we have seen how the malpighian tubules actually will function. And these malpighian tubules, apart from the excretory function, they also perform or carry the process of osmoregulation in these insects. Okay, so this is about the excretory system. Now, again, we will deal a little bit in detail now. Just wait for 1 minute. One second, students. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, actually, I'm not able to open that file. Some problem is there. So tomorrow I will show you again. Now we will go to nervous system. Okay. So we will briefly discuss about the nervous system. Okay. Then the rest of the things I'll show you tomorrow. Okay. So now we have seen now till now the circulatory system and as well as a excretory system. So the invertebrates. So as you go to the higher organisms, how actually these systems actually are working. We have seen now. Now we will go to the nervous system in case of invertebrates. Now, okay, are you able to see, ma? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello. Yeah. So now till now you have understood. So when we talk about the circulatory system, we have dealt with what in invertebrates we have found two types of circulatory system. One is called as the open type of circulatory system and the other one is called closed type of circulatory system. There you have to mention how it, all those things. Then coming to the excretory system, okay, the excretory system not only occurs to the general body surface, but as you go to the higher organisms, the diffusion is not sufficient enough for the excretion phenomena to take place. So that is why the different organisms have evolved different excretory organs. What are those? We have seen the nephridia in the form of protonephridia as well as metanephridia. Apart from that, we have also talked about the malpighian tubules. So the nephridia, that is protonephridia, metanephridia, as well as the malpighian tubules, they play a significant role in the case of higher organisms in the invertebrates. Okay, so that is about the brain or the simplest nervous system actually that you find in Nidarians are called as the nerve nets. They are called as the nerve nets. So actually, invertebrate nervous system they have different degrees of centralization, cephalization, and the speciation. So here, when you talk about again same way, whatever the systems that you are seeing, actually it is starting from the coelentrates. Now, because what is that? Protozoans as well as the coelentrates, since they are single cell organisms and all those things, they are not having the complex type of organ systems, or you can say that they don't have what do you say, the diversified organ system. So that is why their life is very, very simple. And these processes, whatever the processes, metabolic activities like excretion, respiration, all these actually will take place through their general body surface. So that is how actually they are surviving. But as you go higher up to the phyla, then what is happening? The different, what do you say, the systems actually are getting evolved into a complex mechanism, and based on that, they are able to perform in various ways. Now, when we're talking about dealing with the nervous system, they're saying that actually these nervous systems have different degrees of centralization, cephalization. So the starting from the nidaria, that is the what is a Nidarians are what? Nothing but the coelentrates. Okay, so they have what? They have a simple nerve net. They have got a simple nerve net, and the flatworms. Okay, flatworms are the platyhelminths. Their nervous system are more centralized. They have small ganglia in their heads. Then next is what? Arthropods as well as the cephalopods, mollusk. They have centralized brain and specialized sensory organs. So like this, in case of the invertebrates, you find. So in case of the protozoa, okay, then you don't have. In case of the protozoa, very, very simple, you don't have well-organized nervous system is not developed. They're saying, okay, but in case of the coelenterate, that is in nidaria, you have a simple nerve net. You can say the nervous system actually occurs in the form of a simple nerve net, or it is a net-like structure, you can say, or a reticulum-like structure. So then flatworms, that is the platyhelminths, they have the nervous system are more centralized. They have small ganglia which are present in their heads. Whereas arthropods, as well as the mollusk, they have a brain, centralized brain with special sense organs. Now we will see one by one what are all those things. Okay. Now the simplest nervous system that you find in case of nidaria, that is in case of the coelentrates, are called as nothing but the nerve nets. So what do you mean by nerve nets? Nerve nets are nothing but they consist of individual nerve cells that form a network-like structure or a network-like arrangement throughout the animal body. So that is what we call it as the nerve net. So the simplest nerve net or the nervous system you find it what in case of the nidaria, that is in the coelenterate, which is in the form of nerve net. Nerve net is nothing but it is a network of or an arrangement, or you can say a network like arrangement of the individual nerve cells which is present throughout the animal body. So that is what we find the simplest nervous system in case of the nidaria. Now, when you talk about the flatworms and roundworms, that is platyhelminths as well as the nemathelminths, that is flatworms and roundworms, here the nerve cells actually are more concentrated, or they are more centralized. So here they are saying is there are few small clumps of nervous tissue or the ganglia which are present in the cephalic region or which are present in the head region. So we can say that the flatworms as well as the roundworms, here the nerve cells, okay, forms a small clump of nervous tissue, you can say, or they form ganglia. All the nerve cells club together, or the clumping of the nerve cells, you can say, form what? A nervous tissue. That nervous tissue occurs in the form of ganglia, which is present in the head region, Now, next coming to the cephalopods, mollusk as well as the arthropods, here the ganglia are organized into a brain that controls and coordinates the nervous system. So this concentration of the nervous tissue and the organs in one end of the body, you call it as nothing but the cephalization. So that is how actually you see the nervous system, okay, in case of the invertebrates. So starting from the nidaria, that is coelenterate, leave about the protozoans. Protozoans, they don't have a well-organized nervous system, so there is what do you say, no document relating with that protozoans. But when you talk about the nidaria, that is coelentrates, they have found out that these cylinderates actually have the nervous system in the form of nerve nets. Nerve nets is nothing but it is a network-like arrangement, okay, of the individual nerve cells which are concentrated throughout the animal body. Then with reference to flatworms and roundworms, these nerve cells are more concentrated or centralized, means all the nerve cells, they are clumped together, okay, forming they are present at one region, forming small clumps of the nervous tissue. Those small clumps of nervous tissue we are called as nothing but the ganglia, which are located in the head region. Then in case of mollusks, cephalopod, mollusk, as well as arthropods, the ganglia actually they are organized into a small structure which we call it as nothing but the brain, and this brain will control and coordinate the nervous system. Okay, so that is how we see the what do you say, the diversity of the nervous system with reference to the different organisms. So the more complex an animal's nervous system is, the more developed is sense organs. Okay, so now in case of the flatworms, for example, these flatworms actually have simple eye spots that detect only the presence of light. Okay, so nervous system, along with the nervous system, you also have the sensory organs. Now these sensory organs may be the eye. Okay, so different types of sensory organs you find. So what are those different types of sensory organs are present in these invertebrates? We will see one by one. Now flatworms, for example, they have got simple eye spots that detect only the presence of the light. Now more complex animals such as insects, they have eyes that detect the motion and as well as the color and also form the images. The complex animals may have a variety of specialized sense organs that detect not only the light, but also they will detect the sound, they'll detect the chemical, they detect the movement of other organisms, and even the electricity to help them discover what is happening around them, what is happening in their surroundings. Okay, so that is how about the things. Now we will see one by one. So apart from the the nervous system also processes not only the brain. Apart from this brain, you also have got the various sense organs. So what are the various sense organs and how the diversity of these sense organs are there in different types of invertebrates? When you talk about the invertebrates, in case of flatworms, they're saying that the flatworms possess simple eye spots, very, very small, and they can detect only the light. They cannot detect anything. When you talk about the insects, insects also have the eyes. They detect not only the the light, but also they'll detect the motion, means what is moving around them. So they'll detect the motion and also they'll detect the color. They can also find out the color and also can form the images. Then still higher animals, they have a variety of specialized sense organs with which they can detect the light, they can detect the sound, they can detect the chemicals, movement, and also even the electricity. And not only they help in the detection of these, apart from that, it also will be able to find out what is actually happening around them, what is actually happening in their surroundings with these sense organs. Okay, now we'll see one by one, coming to the protozoa. Now, the protozoans lack specialized nervous system, you all know, to respond to the environment. So they are single-celled organisms. Already I have mentioned to you, they lack the specialized nervous system to respond to the environment. So the single-cell function as both the receptor as well as the effector, and they contain an eye spot that act as a light sensitive receptor. That's all. So the protozoans lack the specialized nervous system. So they don't have any specialized system. As we have already seen earlier, they don't have a specialized excretory system. They don't have a specialized circulatory system. So whatever the phenomena, it takes place only through the process of digestion, excretion, circulation. It occurs through the general body surface. But with reference to the nervous system, here since they lack the specialized nervous system, it is very difficult for them to respond to the environment. Okay, and the single cell itself will function both as a receptor as well as an effector. So that means they can respond to the stimuli, okay, with only the receptor. So the single cell only will perform both the functions, and it contains only a single small eye spot that will act as a light sensitive receptor. Now coming to the porifera. Now the poriferans are nothing but the sponges. They are the multicellular animals, you all know, and they without a nervous system. Again, they don't have a well-developed nervous system. They do not show any neurons or the sensory cells also. So although they lack a nervous system, but they are sensitive to what? Pressure and touch that help with their locomotion. So this is about the poriferans. Now porifera are nothing but the sponges. They single. I mean they are sorry. Though they are the multicellular animals, they don't have a well-developed nervous system. They do not show neurons. They don't have the sensory cells. They don't have a brain as well as the neurons. And though they lack the nervous system, but they are sensitive to the pressure as well as the touch. If you touch them, easily they can respond. So since they are sensitive to the pressure as well as the touch, these actually help them in their locomotion. Okay, this is about the porifera. Okay. Now next is what? Cnidaria. Cnidaria are nothing but the coelenterate. Now when you talk about the coelenterate, they contain a diffuse network. They contain a diffuse network of the nerves, and here sensory neurons, intermediate neurons, and motor neurons are present. So the neurons, three types of neurons actually are found in this, that is in the coelenterate: sensory neurons, intermediate neurons, as well as the motor neurons. Now, these neurons actually are connected together by means of the synapses, and these synapses only will carry the impulse to both the directions within the nerve net. Hello? Some noise is coming. Try to mute it. Hello? Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So in case of cylinderates, they consist a network, nerve net, but it is not well organized. It is in the form of a diffuse network. So diffuse nerve net is present. They possess the nerve cells in the form of sensory neurons, intermediate neurons, as well as the motor neurons. These neurons are connected together with the help of synapse, which carry the impulses to both the directions within the nerve. Okay. So this is an example of a hydra. You can see these are the nerve cells. Then this is the nerve net. You see it in a sea anemone. Okay. So diffuse mesh of nerve cells that take part in the simple reflex pathways. Nerve cells interact with the sensory as well as the contractile cells. So this is how actually the nervous function will take place in case of the cnidaria, that is in the cylinderates. Now, coming to the platyhelminths, first we'll go to the platyhelminths. Now, in case of the platyhelminths, now here in the platyhelminths, you have what the bilateral symmetry and the cephalization actually have led to the nervous system. So since till now we have seen the symmetry is radial symmetry, but from the platyhelminths, it shows the bilateral symmetry, and also they have well developed what do you say, the body is divided, or the well developed organ systems. So here the platyhelminths actually, from platyhelminths onwards, the nervous system has been developed. So they say that the bilateral symmetry as well as the civilization have led to the development of the nervous system in the case of the platyhelminths. So here it shows the primitive arrangement of the nervous system, especially the central nervous system. And here the nervous system just resembles a ladder-like structure. So it is in the form of a ladder. You have two long nerves which are connected to the cerebral ganglia and are located in the head region. Short, smaller nerves are connected to the nerve cord. Auricles can be found at the sides of the head, and these contain the sensory receptors, and the eye spots are also present. So this is about the platyhelminths. See here. Okay, so this is about the peripheral nervous system. You have the cerebral ganglia, transverse commissure, longitudinal nerve cord. Okay, so in case of the platyhelminths, like you say, in case of planaria, that is Dugacia, as in case of the flatworms, you find a primitive type of nervous system, central nervous system. It will just resemble a ladder-like structure. See here, see, this is just a simple ladder-like structure, and it resembles a ladder. Two long nerves will be passing throughout the body, and these two long nerves actually will be connected to the cerebral ganglia, which is located. This is the cerebral ganglia, which is located in the head region. And short, smaller nerves are also connected to the nerve cord, and the auricles are also can be found at the sides of the head. So this is how, and these auricles actually contain the sensory receptors. And apart from this, they also contain the eye spots. So that is how the central, the nervous system of the platyhelminths. So the platyhelminths, from the platyhelminths onwards, you are able to see the nervous system. So you can say the bilateral symmetry as well as the civilization of these organisms have led to the evolution of the nervous system from the platyhelminths onwards. So but it shows a primitive arrangement. It resembles a ladder. It has got two long nerves which are connected to the cerebral ganglia, which is located in the head. Apart from this, short, small nerves are also connected to the nerve cord, and auricles are also seen at the sides, which contain the respiratory receptors, and you also have the eye spots. Now, this is about the platyhelminths. Okay. Now we will talk about the nemathelminthes, that is the nematoda. Now, in case of the nematoda, see here at the anterior and the end, cerebral ganglia actually is present, which is consisting of the circular nerve ring surrounding the pharynx. So, in case of still, I mean, as you go higher to the higher organisms, so what happens? The complexity of the organ system is you find it. So, in case of the nematodes, see, actually, the nervous system has evolved from the platyhelminthes. But in case of nematodes, as you come to the nematodes here, you see the cerebral ganglia, the anterior region, the cerebral ganglia are present. It consisting of the circular nerve ring. So dense circular nerve ring is present, which surrounds the pharynx. And arising from this nerve ring, 4 nerves actually are also present, and they run throughout the length of the body as one dorsal nerve, as one ventral nerve, and 2 lateral nerves. Whereas in case of the platyhelminths, we have not found. We have found only the 2 nerves which are running throughout the length of the body. But when in case of nemathelminthes, you are having 4 nerves which run along the entire length of the body. One nerve is a dorsal nerve, one is a ventral nerve, and the other one are the 2 lateral nerves. And each nerve actually is located within a cord of connective tissue. It is located within a cord of connective tissue lying beneath the cuticle and between the muscle cells. And the dorsal nerve trunk actually is a motor. Lateral are the sensory, whereas the ventral nerve cord will function both as a motor as well as a sensory. So this is about the nemathelminthes. See here the structure. See here you see the sensory, then right, so nerve ring. So actually the nervous system, you find it, you can say in the form of a nerve ring. So neuronal cell bodies are present. It is in the form of a nerve ring. Now the ventral and this is ventral cord is present. This is the ventral cord, and this is the dorsal nerve cord. Neuronal cell bodies, that is the ganglia, are being present, and these are the sensory dendrites. So this is how you see. So in case of nemathelminthes, so in case of platyhelminthes, what? In case of platyhelminthes, it is a primitive type of nervous system. So it is in the form of a ladder having 2 nerves which run throughout the length of the body. Okay, and these nerves actually are attached to a ganglia which is situated in the head region. Apart from this, it also bears auricles, which are sensory in nature, and it also possesses eye spots. When we're talking about with reference to the nemathelminthes, that is nematoda, here you find in the anterior position a cerebral ganglion is there, which consists of a circular nerve ring which surrounds the pharynx. Now, arising from this nerve ring, 4 nerve rings actually are 4 nerves arise from this nerve ring. They are one dorsal, one ventral, and 2 lateral nerves. And these nerves, actually, each of these nerves is located within a cord of connective tissue, which lies beneath the cuticle and between the muscle cells. And dorsal nerve trunk or the dorsal nerve is motor, whereas the lateral are the sensory, and ventral nerve, which function both as a motor as well as the sensor. Now, this is about the nemathelminthes. Now, see here. This is about the nematoda. The peripheral nerves, transverse nerve, the intestine, cerebral ganglia, eye spot we have. So this is about the. Now we'll see the nervous system with reference to the annelida. Now when you talk about in annelida, here the nervous system is well developed when compared to that of platyhelminthes and when compared to that of nemathelminthes. Now since the annelids are the segmented animals, here definitely every system, like we have seen in excretory system, and in excretory system also it is segmented. That is, the nephridia are present in each and every segment. So likewise, even the nervous system is segmented in case of the annelid because it is a segmented body, has a segmented body. So the nervous system is also segmented, and annelids bear a pair of cerebral ganglia which is situated above and in front of the pharynx. Okay, and these cerebral ganglia are called as suprapharyngeal ganglia. Why? Because it is situated above as well as in front of the pharynx. So that is why it is called as a suprapharyngeal ganglia. So it bears a pair of cerebral ganglia called as a suprapharyngeal ganglia situated above and in front of the pharynx. Now, apart from these, now 2 lateral nerves, that is circum or pharyngeal connectives, they form a ring around the pharynx connecting the ganglia. So 2 lateral nerves called as the circum or the pharyngeal connectives, they form a ring around the pharynx connecting the ganglia. Then it also has a pair of mid-ventrally placed nerves that are connected to the anterior nerve ring, runs throughout the length of the body. So these nerves have a ganglion in each of the body segment from which the nerves are given out to the various organs. So most of the annelids have giant axons, and some annelids actually also bear the ocelli or the simple eyes. Okay, so this is about the annelida. So in annelids, the nervous system is segmented because the annelids are the segmented animals. So that is why even the nervous system is being segmented. It bears a pair of cerebral ganglia called as suprapharyngeal ganglia, since it is located in front as well as above the pharynx. Apart from these two lateral nerves, okay, called as the circum or the pharyngeal connectives, they form a ring around this pharynx connecting the cerebral ganglia. Then from these ganglia, a pair of mid-ventrally placed nerves, okay, arise that are connected to the anterior nerve ring, and they run throughout the length of the body. And these nerve rings also bear the ganglia in each of the body segment, from which the nerves are given out to the various organs. And most of the annelids sometimes also bear the giant axons. The axons are larger. And some of the annelids also have the ocelli. Ocelli are nothing but the eyes, which are simple eyes, called as the simple eyes. Now, apart from these, they say that annelids have well-developed sensory receptors. Annelids also have well-developed sensory receptors. So annelida are divided into different classes, like you have polychaetes, oligochaetes, and all those things. So they say that polychaetes have a variety of tactile photoreceptors and chemoreceptors distributed over the body surface. And most burrowing and tube-dwelling forms have statocysts and georeceptors that enable them to orient themselves to the substrate or to the substratum. Okay, so we'll see. So now we have seen now the the nervous system with reference to the annelida. So in case of annelida, it is segmented. It bears a pair of cerebral ganglia called as suprapharyngeal ganglia, as it is situated above and in front of the pharynx. From these suprapharyngeal, the ganglia, you can say, or a cerebral ganglia, two lateral nerves arise, that is, two lateral nerves arise which form a ring around the pharynx connecting this ganglia. Apart from this, a pair of ventrally placed nerves are also connected to this nerve ring, and which runs throughout the length of the body. And these nerves actually bear a ganglion in each of the body segment, from which the nerves originate, and they are given out to each of the various organs that are present in the segments of these annelid animals. And most of these annelids also bear the giant axons, and some of the annelids actually also bear the ocelli or the simple eyes. So apart from these, they say that annelids also have well-developed sensory receptors, like they have tactile receptors, photoreceptors. Tactile means touch, photo means light, chemoreceptors with reference to the chemicals distributed throughout their body surface. Because you all know annelids, these animals actually are burrowing and tube-dwelling forms. So since they are burrowing, they live, most of them actually live in the sand, mud, and all those things. So to catch the prey and also to detect the enemies and all those things, they require these sense organs. So these sense organs actually are very, very essential with reference to the annelids. So that is the reason why the sensory receptors have been developed well in case of the annelids, as they are burrowing and the tube-dwelling forms. So not only to defend themselves from the enemies, but also to protect themselves. Actually, they bear these receptors. Now they have statocysts, and also they have georeceptors. Statocysts, actually, it is a balancing organ. It helps them to balance the body. And apart from that, it also have the georeceptors that enable them to orient themselves to the substrate or in the substrate. Okay, so the nervous system of the annelids. This is the nervous system of the annelids. Cerebral ganglia is present. Okay, then you have circumesophageal connective, and subesophageal ganglion, ventral nerve cord is present, and in each segment actually. So that means these nerves pass through each of these segment, and it is distributed throughout each. So this is how the nervous system actually is being present in case of the annelids, that is in the earth. The next is in mollusca. Now, mollusca shows a great range of nervous system. You all know the typical nervous system of this mollusk consists of three pairs of ganglia, which are connected to each other by bundle of nerve fibers, but they are distributed in a scattered manner. One pair of ganglia are present above the esophagus, called as supraesophageal or cerebral ganglia. One pair lies below the esophagus, and it is called as infraesophageal or the pedal ganglia. And the other pair actually is present in between, you can say, which is called as a branchial or the peritosplagmatic ganglion. So this is how the nervous system is being present in case of the mollusca. So in mollusca, it shows a great diversity of nervous system. It consists of what? 3 pairs of ganglia which are connected to each other by means of bundle of nerve fibers. But these nerve fibers actually are distributed in a characteristically scattered manner. One pair of ganglia lie above the pharynx, hence called supraesophageal or cerebral ganglia. Another pair lies below the esophagus and is called as the infraesophageal or the pedal ganglia. And the other pair of ganglia is called as the branchial ganglia or the peritosplantine ganglion. Whereas in case of the higher mollusk, the cerebral as well as the pedal ganglia are fused, forming a esophageal ring. Several ganglia are present that are connected with the long nerves. So we can say mollusca bears 3 pairs of ganglia. One pair is above the esophagus called as the supraesophageal. Another pair lies below called as the infraesophageal, and the other pair which is in between called as branchial or peritosplantine. But in some mollusks, that is higher mollusks, they say that the cerebral as well as the pedal ganglion, that is the supraesophageal as well as the pedal, that is infraesophageal, both of them are fused and they form a ring that we call it as nothing but the esophageal ring. And apart from these ganglia, several ganglia are also present that are connected with the long nerves. So this is with reference to the mollusca. See here, this is the nervous system in case of the mollusca. So here you find these are the nerve cords. Yeah, these are the nerve cords. This is the digital muscle. Okay. The next is arthropoda. Now, arthropoda is similar to the annelid nervous system, but it is more advanced in structure. Now here, the central nervous system is present. Supraesophageal or cerebral ganglion is located in the head segment, and this serves as a brain. Yes, hello? Hello?
Yes,
Madam.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It's clear, ma'am.
Is it clear? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I think the time is running. So it's already 11:30. So the rest of the class I will take tomorrow. Okay. So till now, whatever we have discussed, Any doubts you have?
No, ma'am.
Ma'am, we have to write it in all invertebrates like
Yeah.
respiratory and nervous
Invertebrates,
system.
because here, yeah. You have to talk only with reference to invertebrates, because in block 2, you have the title of that is diversity. Okay, diversity in organization of what do you say, in case of invertebrates, with reference to circulatory system, with reference to excretory, and with reference to nervous system. So you have to, in almost all the invertebrates, right from the protozoans till what do you say, the last invertebrates, that is still the echinoderms, you have to talk about only with reference to the invertebrates only. That is circulatory system or excretory system or nervous system, whatever it may be. Not in vertebrates. In block, I think in another block, you have diversity of organization in vertebrates. There you have to talk about only vertebrates. But here you have to talk only with reference to invertebrates.
Okay.
Don't mention about vertebrates in this. Okay?
Okay.
So because this is, they are dealing only with invertebrates, they are talking only with reference to invertebrates, not with vertebrates. Vertebrates, another chapter is there. So when they ask a question, diversity, okay, in organization, in organ system with reference to invertebrates, they may ask either circulatory, excretory, or nervous, whatever it is. So what are the different types? How do you find? Okay, right from the starting from the protozoans till the echinoderms. You have to talk.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay. The rest of the things, yeah, we could discuss tomorrow.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.